On the top left-hand side of the map, we are going to start off with Dragon Phoenix Gaming's Zest, taking on Team Liquid's Clem in the bottom right, as we start on Berlingrad for what will be a best of 5 TvP here from the Stay At HomeStory Cup number 4. If you're watching this one on the YouTube, then hello and welcome. This is one of those casts where I am actually live on Twitch. We're just catching up. We've got some time between tournaments, so we're just covering a little series between the events, or covering casting a matchup here between events and stuff. So, but I know this one is one of the ones I had on my list to put on YouTube. So if you're watching on YouTube, hello, and do consider, as usual, if you enjoy the video, hitting the like button, hitting the subscribe button. This is from the Stay At HomeStory Cup number 4. I believe it's the upper bracket semi-final. Yes, I believe it's the upper bracket semi-final. I've already put some Stay At HomeStory Cup matches up on the channel as well. This might be one of the last ones we do, depending on how much time I have in the next few days to maybe do another couple of casts of them. But obviously, after this, it's kind of getting to be kind of a while since Stay At HomeStory Cup was on. And I kind of like to stay away from actually kind of covering games from that long ago at that point. So yeah. So, Gateway is going to be finishing. Barracks is about to complete in the main as we get into a pretty regular opening here for game number 1. Nothing crazy yet as Clem opts for a Marine first, which means his factory will be that little bit faster if he wants it, because he doesn't build into the Reaper. He will still expand quickly, just like I say, 100 gas available very soon here. As usual, this SCV comes across the map, mines these minerals, and just allows you up the wall and into the main base just to try and see a little bit of what's going on. This mineral war is kind of funny, because at first we used to never see, people never realized you could just bring an SCV and just mine it out straight away with the scout. And then people started to realize that was just a thing. They were like, oh, right? That's like a, oh, sort of moment. You kind of realize it's like, oh, well, I guess you just kind of mine it out then, and it's just not really an issue later. And can move up there if I want to, and all that kind of stuff. So that's what Clem will do, and he actually opens with a concussor shell opening. So Tech Lab on the barracks and into Marauders. So already setting up, and that's why he goes Marine first as well, as this is a misplaced depot, right? So that's not pretty. We'll see if that comes into effect as the game goes on. But opening up with Marauders and Concussive Shell, that kind of suggests why he wanted to go Marine first, because you just don't want to have the Reaper just takes longer to build than the Marine. So you basically just want to quickly get into one Marine, turn away a probe if necessary, and then of course you can just go straight into the Tech Lab, straight into the Marauders. That's the reason for the Reaper first here this time, as the SCV sees the Adept here. It's actually going to try and mine out those minerals to try and speed up the timing of this attack. This is going to be good for Zest, because he sees it as well. He knows that Marauders are coming. He's going to keep the Adept alive, and he's going to be able to start up a battery in time at home. So Clem will still typically force a battery, right? Zest, we're going to build a shield battery here, or are we really just going to try and hold this with units? Okay, looks like you might just try and hold it with units. It's a little bit brave, in all honesty. It's a little bit brave. You pretty much always just see a battery just to help make sure this is not going to be a problem, but maybe because Zest just saw it soon enough, he just feels comfortable. Team Marauder is just going to slowly adapt. They would love to get on top of the Stalker, which is exactly what they're going to do. One Stalker down. Now we'll just try and get a probe or so out of this as well, as that is one probe, a Stalker. And when it comes to resources lost, that is going to be favoring. Actually, a second probe. That's quite nice. A probe. 2 probes, a Stalker. 3 probes and a Stalker. Man, you forget how slow an Adept is to actually kill a Marauder. Suddenly 2 Stalkers show up at the same time. But now resources lost really is actually just pretty much even after that. I would say that that's actually pretty good going. All said and done. As we get into our next step of this, which is just going to be from Clem. Going into the additional barracks, he's going to keep up the bio pressure in this game, and that's how he will continue to approach the future of this TvP at least. So quite a lot of bio pressure setting up. We do get a bunker at the front, and we do see now Zest opting to go for 2 additional gates. That means he's going to be on 4 gateways, and he's going to ramp up the pressure here in this game. So he's already ramping up the pressure a little bit, thinking about how he can apply some pressure on the other side. You look at the base of Clem, and defenses here are sparse. It is kind of a rotation, a heavy rotation from the natural to this location. So while this is a good blink-up spot, you can't pressure the front as easily. So it does give Clem a little bit of easier time, because what it means is that Clem can obviously go from here to here with plenty of time to defend. He shouldn't have to really kind of focus on 2 areas at the same time and kind of be confused as to where things are happening. Are these Stalkers just going to blink over this initial kind of mineral line? Are they waiting for the Prism to take them? I'm not sure. I mean, they could just walk around the corner like, you know, normal units. Clem's actually pushing out right now. It's going to get a little bit awkward because we got, obviously, Stim ready. He doesn't want to use it right away as the Stalkers have Blink to get out. So he is just going to force the Stalkers back. But this, to me, means that Clem cannot possibly go across the map because the Stalkers are just going to be chipping away at you all the time. And you're just going to be on such low HP by the time you get across the map. It's just it's not going to be worth doing anything at that stage. As a few units in a bunker should be able to defend initially. The bigger question might just be what can Zest do when it comes to trying to blink up over to the side. And maybe, you know, again, pressuring around in towards the main base and so on. All that kind of fun, as we do see this bunker is going to end up being cancelled here. Now the Bio-Army going to come stimming now, chasing that Prism. Now he got it, pulled the SCVs too, just to try and help buffer. I mean, obviously using a big stim to push this back as Zest will comfortably just fall back, add more Stalkers. That Prism just surviving though, so that is, of course, a great little added extra. As he will take an extra gas, and looks like a probe's going to move out to take the third base as well. So finally set up for the third. The extra gas to start teching up further as well. So Zest, that's the one thing you've got to remember. His tech and everything else is slower than usual in this game because he's building so many Stalkers. He's teched into this 4-gate blink. And that does take up a lot of your time and money in the early stage. So, yes. I mean, and to be fair, this time around it's doing perfectly well. I mean, it's killing off so many Marines and Marauders. He even blinked Stalkers forward there. He's at the point where he wants to try and make sure he kills some of those Marauders because they're such low HP. He does get a bunch of them. 4 SCVs going down as well. So Clem is not even really kind of sustaining a worker lead or anything. There goes the bunker. And again, the Marauders are looking as though they're going to get overrun here a little bit as we will turn and fire. Clem will try and push his way through this Stalker count. SCV's pulling in. I mean, even this is just a good trade for Zest, right? If you're fighting off these SCVs. Some of the Stalkers were target firing Marauders initially, but we're at the point where there's just not enough bio units on the map that it really matters. And it looks as though Zest, yep, blinking forward aggressively again. Medivacs will save what they can. Another Marauder pops out. Doesn't save this one, though. As we do see the Stalkers. I mean, they already killed 23 SCVs, guys. This game is already getting to a point where it is going to be wrapped up and decided. Zest, one more round of Stalkers. He is killing the natural expansion. Clem has a siege tank now. So, okay, but the Orbital dies, and that should be an instant GG, and it is an instant GG, because the moment the Orbital dies, there is no way back in this game. With the Orbital alive, maybe Zest blinks in, takes a bad fight, maybe kind of, you know, does something weird, loses the Stalkers, and you can counterattack. But with the Orbital gone, even if you can counterattack, I mean, because Zest isn't going to keep on attacking, he's just going to go home. So yeah, I mean, Clem left the game with a scan as well, just double checking. Zest has a third base, and because he has the third base ready to go too, that's where Clem really decides that this game is over. Maybe if there was no third base as well, maybe you say, okay, I just have my own third finishing, so it's 2 base against 2 base, and I can make something happen. But like I say, that's just absolutely not the case here at all. And that's going to be GG's as Clem taps out, and Zest ends up with game number 1. The bottom left-hand side, we're going to kick it off with the TL Protoss player, who wins game number 1. So at a 1-0 lead for this best of 5, it is Zest. Bottom right, the blue Terran player is, of course, from Team Liquid, Clem. See how he can do here as a supply depot goes down, up on the high ground. And we get set up for this beautiful little game number 2. Of course, kind of a weird mix of builds, right? You get 4-gate blink, and it's taking on a pretty quick and aggressive kind of Terran army. It does work out very well there for the Terran, for the Protoss player. And it just means the Terran can't really use any of their aggression. And I really did think Clem would be able to make a bit of a better hold on the natural, but the bunkers were never repaired. I mean, he really just got overrun very quickly each time. And just didn't quite get the defense together that he would have maybe needed to be able to make something like that happen. Initial probe scout coming over. Take a check up into the base. So you see a probe nibbling up this supply depot here, and SCV is going to pull forward and just go back to building that. So the other SCV can get to nibbling the probe, and that probe does end up being pushed away. So this is well handled by Clem. Deals with this comfortably. If this was me, I would have been floundering around, really having way more trouble than I ever should be, and just making my own life more difficult on myself, that's for sure. Well, Cybernetics Core is going to be finishing up in a moment. Just going to be seeing our reactor and our factorial coming through. Obviously, this is a factory before you expand, so this does give you a few more aggressive options as Clem. It does open the pathway to be dealing a bit more damage early. Zest just opens with the Stargate, which should be fairly good defensively, right? That should give you a reasonable setup. That should give you some, a reasonable place to play forward from. As our Stargate just coming up to being about halfway done. Our double Widow Mines right away. So Clem doesn't even go double Hellion. Usually you go you can go double Hellion first, then you go double Widow Mines, but now he's just going to go 2 Widow Mines right away. If he goes 2 more Widow Mines right away, he's going to have 4 Widow Mines way before the Starport is done. We're going to get an armory too. This is a real commitment, right, from Clem. You know, sometimes you talk about factory, then the expansion, but this is factory, then Starport, and armory, and all of this just on one base. He's probably going to build multiple medevacs here, and that's why he goes Widow Mines straight away. Probably will not just be the first medevac, but a second medevac instead. And that means, obviously, you can just keep on dropping these mines, and you can really just have multiple waves of them. They do need to do damage. If they do not, then you're going to be in some trouble, so that's definitely something to watch out for. As those Widow Mines set up, and a couple probes just chrono boosting out of this Nexus at the moment. Alright, all 4 Widow Mines going to go boosting over. So first medevac coming through. There's the second. Void Ray on the way from Zest. So a defensive setup for him as he, I believe, realized that this is just one base and says, well, I just want the Void Ray right away. Activates the prismatic alignment. Void Rays will start a burrow. Widow Mines will start a burrow, and the Void Ray is just about getting out of the way. One will connect, and 1 probe in the mineral line. Sorry, 2 probes in the mineral line go down. 1 Widow Mine was killed, but only the 1. And we actually still have a Widow Mine over here. Remember, no detection, because he went straight to Void Rays. You've got to wait for that Widow Mine, Oracle, sorry, to come up to detect the Widow Mines. That's definitely going to be a bit of a problem as well. So, yeah, taking a little while to deal with this. And now you're going to have a lot of Widow Mines to deal with as well. So this is going to get even more awkward. That's a good double hit on the Revelation. Oh, that Widow Mine gets to fire once anyway. And it's actually going to hit the Void Ray here too. Oh, and now we get probe kills. Now we're going to go to the natural. This Widow Mine connected again. And this is adding up to be a lot of damage done. As Clem finally starts to expand, it looks as though he's going to get the damage done here. This is going to be another Widow Mine connection. I don't know what Zest is doing, not pulling the probes away. That's, to me, that's an obvious probe pull right there, because that was just inevitable. Do we have the energy in time to get this Widow Mine before it fires? Yes, we do. So that at least is a small victory here from Zest. And there's Clem. And there's more Widow Mines. Medevac comes back in again. It's going to go off on the Adept. It's a probe with it. And again, just good damage continuing through. Finally, this factory is off the reactor and onto a tech lab as we start looking to the future now. Instead, we start looking towards the next set of units that will build up for Clem here, as he has got the Viking and the Cyclone will coming through. That bunker is just going to be finishing up at the front, so he's just going to be very careful of the counterattack. He is worried about the fact that Zest obviously has multiple Void Rays. But it's kind of funny, because if you're not going to do anything with those multiple Void Rays, they really don't do that well over time, right? So if you don't do something with them now, it definitely becomes more and more of a problem, and that's going to be a little bit funky, I'm sure. As these 2 Widow Mines move over the left-hand side, we do have that third Nexus of Zest just coming through. Another Oracle's finishing. This is now a lot of Stargate units just in general. That's 5 Stargate units you've ended up building here, and it's just a lot of investment. It means all your other tech is very delayed as well, right? The Twilight Council, the Forge, none of that is able to finish up just yet. As that 1 Widow Mine gets saved and may even be able to strike once more. This was great for Clem. He denied a lot of economy. Probe pulls on top of the probes killed. He's got Zest on an army comp that doesn't really do a lot. It's not done enough early game. He's got a counter to it now. And Zest's follow-up tech is just going to be so delayed that even his own kind of stim and so on being delayed is going to be no worries at all, I would imagine, as Vikings dealing some damage. trying to kite a little bit and obviously pick away at those Void Rays from afar. Doing okay with that, actually, and we do see the Voids taking some shots. Cyclone locks on there. Oracle taking a little bit of damage as well. Just going to be seeing the army of Clem moving through the bottom side. As we do just have the Oracle's going to loop around the other way. I mean, this army of Clem is really just dangerous. I look at what Zest has, and I don't really like it. The Oracles can maybe die for some damage, but honestly, these Oracles have such low energy. 19 energy on one will obviously be somewhat substantial, but I think Clem just says, okay, you know what, whatever. I'm going to kill your third base here at the very least. And that alone is damage that I'm okay with. With 5 SCVs going down, yeah, I don't think he's really minding too much at the moment. Cyclones and the Marines picking their way through that Nexus, so that Nexus is dropping, it's falling. The Widowmine connects for the probe. And as the Cyclones here are going to get rid of the Nexus as well, so that will go down. Zest is supply blocked, and just see now Void Ray is moving up the left-hand side. Stalker's trying to chase this in here. The Marine's turn. He is actually going to start losing a lot of these units. Nice save from the medevac, though. And these Oracles need to be careful because there's a lot of stuff that can turn around and fight them in an instant. Okay, well, at least you got rid of the third base, though, as Clem. And I still stand by that. I look at this army, and, you know, these Stalkers don't have Blink. Charge, at least, will be done soon. Is Charge going to be done? I mean, 20 seconds for Stim Pack, 20 seconds for Charge. His Charge will finish as Stim finishes. So you will at least have Charge, but only having Charge? I mean, to me, there's not enough Zealots out right now for Charge to be that scary. There's only 4 gateways as well. And a lot of that is because you have to rebuild this third base. If you have like 6 or 7 gateways and you can build like 7 Zealots at once, then brilliant. And oh my goodness, I didn't even realize the supply block of Zest. 86 over 86, and he is in some serious trouble then because this attack ain't going anywhere anytime soon. Yeah, this is absolutely looking as though we are just going to have Zest in a ton of trouble. He's losing more pylons. He's not even going to get out of his supply block, really. He built a few units. He's supply blocked again. And here we go. We're going to see the Zealots charging in. The Void Rays are going to activate and, I mean, help if they can hit the Cyclones or so. The tank does go down from afar. I mean, Clem's just kind of consistent with wanting to fight this third Nexus location. Just wants to cancel that once again, knowing that's going to be a pretty major strength for him in this army. And just going to be seeing the Bioforce now coming to the front. Looking to try and push up this ram. Void Ray taking some hits. Couple Void Rays taking some damage. Zealots taking some shots as well. Super Battery healing up a few of these Zealots as well. Just seeing now a couple of Zealots across the map, but they're not going to do much. As the Super Battery fades, Zest is already coming down the ramp, realizing he needs to be the one making a move to break out of this, but it just is not going to be enough as Clem chases him back up the ramp. Now he'll take a fight in the natural expansion. Zest has nothing left, and Zest just takes so much damage early game, he cannot ever recover against Clem's then ongoing onslaught. Game number 3, as it's 2,000 atmospheres. In the top right-hand corner of the map, our teal Protoss player from Dragon, Phoenix Gaming, it is Zest. Taking on in the bottom left-hand corner, the blue Terran player from Team Liquid, we do have Clem. Game 3 of our best of 5. We get this up and rolling, and we see how this is going to go. We get this set up. Now we already start with a proxy up the left-hand side of the map, so Clem is going to have another SCV here as well, by the way. So he's already building 2 barracks. And he's going to build a 3rd barracks. Oh, this is a fascinating all-in from Clem. This is really cool as well, because when Zest scouts, he sees the top, he's like, oh, well, you know, you're trying to hide what you're doing. You've been doing something one base last game. I like this mind game, although you do actually have to make sure the probe doesn't kill the depot, right? SCV finishes in time to get back onto it, and the Marine on the way out push that probe away, and of course Zest is otherwise oblivious, and so much so nowadays that, you know, you see a wall off, and a lot of the pros players say, well, okay, I can just still go kind of into my cyber core, I can still just get units out, and I can just go from there. It's not really a major issue or anything, right? Well, well. and get going. And yeah, like I say, I mean, at this rate, there's going to be really nothing for Zest to realize what's going on here, apart from maybe he sees the Marines from here moving out across the map, and maybe he wonders why there are still Marines producing rather than there being an add-on added to the barracks. Just going to be seeing the additional Marines continue to come through. Refinery coming up on the main base, and just going to be having our Marines and SCVs and set up. There you go, Marines. Even going to pull a few SCVs across the map. This is what the Adept is going to see. Oh, did you see the SCVs? I feel like seeing the Marines is enough of a warning to get a battery down and to be somewhat worried about this. I'm going to shade again, this time confirm some SCVs on the way too. So just a little bit of additional information here from this Adept as it pulls back. Does get home before it gets flanked in by the Marines that are coming from the proxied barracks. And Zest just straight up builds 2 batteries on the high ground. So he's going to build high ground defense. He's going to let Clem kill the natural. Clem's going to build double tech lab, by the way. So he's going to play 3 racks off of the barracks that are already out on the map. I mean, that means that Clem has to buy a lot of time to make sure his upgrades get a chance to finish, as the plan would be, right, to go into Stim and Combat Shield here, right, off your barracks on the map. At the moment, just building Marauders, but long term, I feel like that's got to be a consideration. Our Marines will continue to pick their way through this Nexus, and there is obviously the bunker up. I mean, Robo Facility drops from Zest as he was floating a lot of money. He could have dropped down a tech structure a long time ago. He has got a gateway across the map, so counter potential, but against a one-base Terran that's walled off, Clem is sending some of his Marines back home now. He's just leaving the Marauders across the map, so he's realizing the potential of the counter, but he actually doesn't have much to deal with Stalkers. Marines will not be able to hold off a couple Stalkers that have warped in across the map, so that will be a problem for sure. I like the Robo, because the Prism can help you get back on the map. Obviously, an Immortal can do fantastic in these scenarios as well. You kind of see the Marines already taking some serious damage there, and another Marine coming home. I mean, that's just going to die to these Stalkers, no doubt about it, as, okay, by a bit of time where this depot isn't taking hits, that's where we're going. He wants to intercept the other units coming back, or was he just joined up with his others? I really feel like he could have continued to stick around here. It's going to get awkward, because he's actually going to be cornered in here by these Marauders. Is this where you want to be, Zest? Marines coming down the ramp as well. We get rid of 1 Stalker. We're going to get concussive shells on another. 2 Stalkers go down for 3 Marauders. Well, there's another Marauder showing up, and he saves 1 as well. Wow, gets 3 of the Stalkers here in the end. And now, I mean, Clem obviously killed the natural. He's very happy to come across the map and just come back home to play defense, even bringing a couple SCVs back. Marauders are rallying from the top left. And this turns into an extremely interesting game all of a sudden, where I really don't know where anyone's at. It's 1 base against 1 base, but Clem has his production building from the wrong part of the map, which is absolutely an issue for Terran. So that's a problem to begin with, as now we get rid of this pylon. That's going to empower the proxy at least. Zest did break through the bunker because, well, he's got an Immortal, so that shouldn't be too surprising. And Clem is going to abandon his double tech lab, so I mean, he never really intended to get stim or anything off that. He's just going to fly these barracks home. Both players will expand. And honestly, I feel like we're actually going to get a longer game. You know, I look at this and I think both of these players at this point kind of say, well, I'm in an okay spot. You're in an okay spot. We both expand and we just go from there. I mean, Zest will attack into a Robo-Bay already, so you'll have some pretty quick access to Colossi or even Disruptors and maybe some drop play he could go for if you would like to. There's not going to be... He can maybe argue there's going to be a late starport, right? So then maybe you could justify playing like a Disruptor drop or Colossus drop even. I know Zest likes the Colossus drop a lot of the time. Prism loads up, looking to drop into the main. A Marine going down, make that nearly 2. Not quite though. As we actually come back to the natural, where Charging Shield pops and he actually is going to relocate it backwards. Prism being target fired by the bunker as well, by the way, so keeping that Prism alive as long as possible. Now the other unit's coming down. It's so weird because there are so many bio units and yet they're not going to have stim for so long. And so Zest is just going to be here kiting, but he gets caught by the concussive shells. But of course, the Prism doesn't care about concussive shells, so it just lifts that Immortal up anyway, brings it away, and saves it for the moment. Alright, well, game settles down for a few moments as a couple of batteries come up from Zest on the natural expansion, so getting those underway. Just going to be bringing this Bioforce up toward the top. And a couple of SCVs going down over towards the main as we see a few SCVs pulling in, just scaring that Prism away as well. This Bio Army is going to just come straight through here. Batteries were not finished yet. And it's going to do okay. Now has to back up once more. Can we please get Stim and Combat Shield start, Clem? I feel like, yeah, he just cancelled the Cyclone that he was building, and that's why I was really kind of complaining about it, because I went back home, I was like, well, if the tech lab's on the factory and there's no barracks with tech labs, I'm going to be upset. And then he had barracks with tech labs and he was building a Cyclone. I'm like, no! Stims, Combat Shields, you know, you need these upgrades. They are really, really an important part of this. It's very true. So you really do need the, you really do want to get Stim and Combat Shield going here, and finally does. I mean, especially with the Colossus on the map, there's that Prism speed. I said maybe we see a Colossus drop, and, well, for now it is exactly what we're going to get. Just kind of funky, kind of fun. SCV's in a little bit of trouble here. That Colossus firing, Bio Army coming across, and put some good damage onto it. Prism is going to lift up that Colossus and take it away. Oh, and momentarily that Cyclone had a lock onto the Prism, but doesn't quite stick. Now this Prism is in a bit of a weird place. If Clem gets a Viking out, which he's going to start building now, then this Prism really is in some trouble. Then you're going to have to recall home, which I'm sure is a bit... Oh, it's not available yet, right? Because he used it recently. Uh-oh. This Colossus is just going to die, so Clem's going to be taking down one of the main tech units of Zest already. Oh, man. We are getting into a hell of a game right here, aren't we? I actually think this is so bad for Zest. Because this is like 8 supply with the Prism and the Colossus. He's going to try and go around the left-hand side. He's going to try and make a way out. He has the Viking. Well, the Colossus is just abandoned either way. Good control on the Viking, make sure he gets it. Colossus goes down, gets a couple units at least, but... And Zest is just in so much trouble. He's down 11 workers as well. Yeah, his army just is not great right now. The Gravitic Drive wasted. Colossus dead. Try and start a Dark Shrine, which is not a bad idea, and he will maybe try and make this a little bit of a base trade. As he attacks around the bottom side, Clem goes up to the top side. Just going to see this kind of Stalker Immortal Zealot Force making its way through this 6 o'clock position, and like I say, continuing through to see what it can do next. See if it can actually take a reasonable fight here. Start up, there's Marauder already going down. I mean, a base trade where Clem just has Stim and so many units, I just don't see how it goes wrong for Clem. I guess let's see. I mean, obviously Dark Shrine would be something that would be worth getting rid of, because if you can get rid of the Dark Shrine, then you can obviously say to yourself, okay, well, there's no DTs either, but if there are DTs, that could absolutely become a problem. So maybe that is where Zest's hope lies. Dark Shrine's in the back of the main. Does Clem recognize that that's the Dark Shrine? Oh, well, Zest just straight up cancels it. I mean, a couple of pylons going down. He's just going to empower the gates anyway. Zest is also supply blocked. As Clem lifts up his orbitals, he's got one flying to the bottom right. Zest has 16 probes. Some of them are on the map, and he's got the money to expand elsewhere if he wants to try and do that as well. Of course, we'll clean out this Nexus, these few gateways, in some trouble. Well, Zest is rebuilds on his third base. Clem's already building barracks in the bottom right corner. He's got an engineering bay that wasn't killed, so he's actually going to finish up the +1 attack upgrade too, so his army's going to be a little bit improved there. He's actually down 10 army supply though, Clem. So can Zest take a fight now that maybe can make this work out, that can make this all be okay? It's plausible. Cycling around the right. I mean, the Zods and the other units see that right away. And start bringing our tanks across. Just going to see the first Zods charging forward. First tank goes down almost immediately here as Clem just kites. He brings in a few SCVs. The Zealots are going to start chasing that, so maybe the Biounits can get on top of the Immortals. A couple of Zods going down. And having +1 attack actually helps so much here as Clem will go running. The 3 Immortals all survive as well. That's obviously a pretty sizable deal in this scenario too. And do we have, perhaps, possibly in some way, Zest able to win this out? A couple of Immortals are chasing down those Marauders. Clem is building units. He's building on the left side. He does have units from the bottom right as well. And I think that's one thing, that he's already got production up and running. That's something that's just not in play at all for Zest. So that makes a big difference for sure. A couple of them getting caught already, though. So Zest doing what he can to stop these units from coming into play properly. Right idea is the Viking is going to land. 22 to 21 army supply. Just the fact that Clem's able to build anything is amazing. And he's relocating the CC, though. So has this CC as well, which you could land down to help him, too. Zest hallucinates 2 Zealots to take the Watchtower. If he lands this CC in the natural, mules over to the far right side, and he has unit production again, and obviously that should be the deal breaker. You don't necessarily need to take a fight right now either as Clem. He's got the medevac just slowly healing units back up. As you do have one Marine, unfortunately, wandering forward and meeting its demise. These structures are going to fly overhead here. Oh, there's a battery as well, by the way. So we're going to have a super battery available from Zest. That's obviously neat. These 3 racks just kind of flying overhead, man. On a bit of a slow journey over and just kind of try and get over here. That means he's going to be able to fully wall this natural. And then he's going to sit on this side of it, and he's going to add Marines from here to his army. He's getting a Liberator, by the way, as well, and another Widowmine, too. He's still to stop this orbital from landing. I don't think that's so bad. Actually, in the end, muling up over here is completely fine based on what's happening. As one Widowmine went off, the other Widowmine is burrowed, and there's no detection, so Zest can't do anything about that other than at some stage maybe like a hallucination to soak it. That sounds ridiculous, but I feel like that's the kind of situation we're in right now, where ridiculous has to be the answer. A couple of Marauders going down, and this fight breaking out. The Liberator should be really powerful because it's just very, very high DPS. The bio units are stimming in as well. Clem's going to do it. Do you guys think if +1 attack wasn't done, if Zest had killed that engineering bay, it would have made like a world of difference? I actually think it would have been a notable difference. I don't know if it's like... I really do think it would have been a really notable difference, actually. You know, because the first fight that they had was kind of close. Without +1 weapons, maybe the Zealots don't go down as quickly, and maybe it's a completely different situation. Now, Clem just has too much, and he's going to win this now. GG is called, and Clem takes the 2-1 lead. What a ridiculous way for this game to play. It was absolutely wild. Players have to think on their feet, work with what they've got, and just come up with answers to questions they haven't been asked ever before, or sometimes just asked not very often, right? And I mean, these scenarios as well, they're all so unique. You just got to do what you can. And I think for Clem, obviously, one of the main parts is just production. Just having that Liberator you could build, a few extra units showing up, one medevac slowly healing, and Zest just had to do a complete rebuild, whereas Clem had a lot saved. Yeah, I wonder if maybe you could have just early enough in the game made the difference, right? Possible. Very, very possible. GG's, and Clem takes the 2-1 advantage. Bottom left-hand side is going to be our Teal Protoss player from Dragon Phoenix Gaming. It is Zest. And unfortunately, he just couldn't quite find the answer. I mean, he was in a lot of trouble ahead of that base trade. And base trading definitely gave him probably one of the better chances to win it all. But considering he went into the base trade so far behind, I actually think it's amazing how much he was able to get done. Like, he really got so much done out of it, and really made that game much closer as Clem. We'll see him mixing it up, getting a little bit cheesy. You don't see that from Clem all the time, right? It's definitely a little bit different, so kind of fun as the probe goes in. Nibbles up the SCVs a little bit, and we get this started. Game number 4 of this best of 5 series. And Clem has not been afraid of kind of doing some weirder kind of openings this time around and in this series, and mixing it up, and I like that a lot. It's definitely kept his opponent on edge. It's definitely kept his opponent kind of wondering a little bit of what's going on. This is Pro gets chased around and just gets pushed out down to the low ground. Now, Cybernex core starts from Zest, so he is just going to go core into Nexus. No surprises there. looks like Clem's going to expand pretty swiftly as well. No surprises here. The probe is here as well, so it would know right away if something was up. Just trying to delay the expansion. Clem gets it down right now. Not bad. Not bad at all. But next is building. Now, there is an SCV over here. That looks like it wants to proxy the factory, even. And yes, he will. So he proxies the factory right off the go. Now, a factory proxy usually means a starport proxy as well. And one of the more popular builds off this would be kind of just 3 Hellions into the medevac right away. And obviously then you're just reactoring Marines at home rather than reactoring Hellions out at home and then running those across the map to meet the medevac. Hits just that little bit faster. So that's, I mean, especially where it's built, because it's not built in a position where you're going to be able to add an add-on or anything, right? Wouldn't make sense to build it here, then float it over here just to build an add-on, because then you're just wasting time. So this is just looking as though it's going to be pretty much just Hellions. It could be a very fast Widow Mine drop, is the other possibility. And we kind of go back to what we did on Blackburn, maybe without an armory, where we just keep on dropping Widow Mines. It's going to be a Hellion drop to begin with. There is a possibility then Widow Mine drop after as well. You do like a 3 Hellion drop. Then you start producing mines, and maybe this medevac just flies back up. It goes to get those mines right away. You can maybe make a Liberator next. You know, you've got a lot of harassing potential just for having these 2 structures out on the map. As the Adepts come through to the top side, just going to see our starport is ticking along. Adepts are going to get to the frontier bunkers. They're not even going to be able to pick up that much info. And even if they shared up and see the barracks on a reactor, it's kind of like, well, okay, cool. You're doing something which is perfectly normal. The Adepts even commit, which is going to be weird. Oh, this is bad. Because now these are 2 Adepts that are not at home dealing damage to these units when they arrive. And yeah, this is just 2 dead Adepts. Oh, geez. This is actually just really bad for Zest. He starts an Oracle. Number 2, that's good. But the first Oracle's going across the map. And I really, really feel as though Zest, I mean, he wants the Oracle across the map because he wants to know what the hell's going on. He can't possibly play blind any further, right? He can't just keep playing blind in this game. Oh, man. A few more Marines popping now. They're going to just walk across the map. So the Oracle has potential to deal damage, but as far as Clem's concerned, if this Oracle activates and uses energy over here, it means more chance for him to deal damage with his Hellions. And, well, the Oracle has just flown by for Zest, so the new Oracle isn't even around. It's not even turning around. Why is the Oracle not turning around? 12 probes go down. Okay, 5 SCVs have been killed across the map. That's just not comparable. As the factory and starport are just heading home. The 3 Hellions still alive, full of HP. There's no battery at the front, and the Marines are arriving. Yeah, 8 SCVs were nice, but, you know, so was the 15. And this isn't done yet as these Marines step forward. 1 Adept goes down. The next step taking damage as well. Just going to get that Adept. Probes are still dropping down. I think this is... yeah, this is it. GG's. Wow. Clem just... aggression. Outplays Zest a little bit. A little bit of a cheesy Clem in this series. A little bit of French cheese in our baguette today as Clem takes it 3-1 over Zest from the Stay At HomeStory Cup. When was this game played? This game was played probably just... when was Stay At HomeStory Cup? Like 2 weekends ago? So like a couple weeks ago, mid-October. It was like October, like 17th, 18th or something. So yeah, couple weeks old. Fun series. Kind of a bit of a mix of everything. Not really a single standard game, but a bunch of different kind of aggression from both sides, because even Zest got aggressive in that first game he won as well. Alright, very fun stuff. My friends, we are gonna wrap this one up. Let's dive out as Clem wins it 3-1.